everyone, it is Eunagina here, and welcome to the finale of Minas Tirith. So today we're basically just going to wrap up everything that I have done so far and just sort of finish off whatever is left. And that is going to be that. So where we left off last time, I was just decorating this little house or where this character that I made up is living. So I promised you that I would have a little story about this person, which I do. I don't know. First of all, I just wanted to say that the fact that I made a story about him... Oh, sorry, I'm just struggling to speak. I'm actually a little bit sick, so excuse me if I do at some point sound a little bit sick. I'm trying to clear my voice the best I can. But either way, it helped me a lot with the building of this little house here, because it just sort of gave it a bit of character to know who the person who was living here was. So maybe I should just tell you who he is and what is going on with him. So his name is Evanthor, and he was from a small village in Gondor, in the kingdom of Gondor, which is the kingdom that Minas Tirith is in. So he's from a village there, and he was a very well-respected carpenter who lived a very peaceful life with his wife and 2 daughters. And he was a very talented carpenter. He's done a lot of work, and he also did some work in Minas Tirith. So he's very respected, and he's got a beautiful house in this village that he lives in, because he's really good at what he does. So he's got this very beautiful house that he's built, of course. But one day, his very nice and perfect reality crumbled because a group of rogue orcs had been roaming around in Minas Tirith, not in Minas Tirith, in Gondor, for some time, and pillaging all the villages that they came by. And this day they came to Evinthor's village. Very unfortunate for him and his family. The orcs killed everyone that they saw. The leader of the pack, Ordul, came into Evinthor's home, and he took his family captive and him. And the reason he did that was actually because he had mistaken Evinthor's home for that of the head of the village. Because the house was so beautiful, he thought that this was probably where the leader of the village would live. So he came into Evinthor's house and took them prisoners. So Ordul was a particularly nasty orc, as I see it, and each time he and his group of orcs pillaged a village, he would always take the head of the village and their family captive to sort of play with them. And by play, I mean being really nasty and, all of these bad things that you don't want. So he attempted to get information about Minas Tirith and its defenses from the different leaders in the villages that he pillaged. That was sort of his goal with taking them captive, and that's then what he's trying to do with Evanthor. But the thing is, Evanthor doesn't really know anything, because he's not a leader, he's not a head of any village, he's just a carpenter. He has been to Minas Tirith though, so he's seen the city, but he doesn't know any sort of in-depth information about it at all. So Ordul did not believe that he was just a carpenter. He did not believe that. He just thought that he was the head of the village. So he tortured Evanthor's family before his eyes to make him talk. And Evanthor really tried to think as much as he could about what was going on in Minas Tirith, like what he could remember from the city, if there was anything at all he could tell Ordul to make him stop torturing his family. But he really couldn't think about anything, and Ordul became very, very angry and killed his wife, which of course made all of them very sad. Both Evanthor and the daughters were crying, and the longer Evinthor took to think up something, just anything at all he could remember about Minas Tirith and its defenses that might be useful to Ordul, he was trying to think of it, but he really, really could not. And the longer he took, Ordul got more and more irritated and impatient, and he ended up telling Evinthor that if he did not talk, he would kill both his daughters right here and now, straight away. But if he did talk, if he did tell him something useful, he would get to choose one of his daughters that Ordul would not kill. Of course, Evanthor was not able to choose between his daughters because that's really horrible, but he did instead just tell Ordul about one weakness that he thought about, that he had noticed while he was visiting Minas Tirith. He had seen a weakness in one of the walls while working on a house in the city some years back, and Ordul just laughed and he was pleased with the information because that was exactly what he was looking for, but he immediately went on and killed Evanthor's daughters, both of them, and laughed even harder because he's insane and he loves torturing people. And, well, he didn't choose a daughter, so he did not keep his promise either, or Ordul did not keep his promise either, so he killed both of them. And then he turned towards Evanthor and said, now it's your turn, because he was going to kill Evanthor too. He does not usually leave anyone alive, so whatever he told Evanthor prior to that was just to make him talk, nothing else. But just as he got up to kill Evanthor, there were sounds of hooves, not hooves. Yes, hooves. What am I saying? Hooves? On horses? That is called hooves, right? I don't know why I dubbed right there. Anyways, that's what he heard, and that is because some riders from Minas Tirith were coming. They were also hunting down these orcs that had been sort of pestering the entire kingdom of Gondor these days or these years or whatever, however long that has been going on. So they had come to Evanthor's village just in time, pretty much, and they barged into Evanthor's house because they could see some orcs standing guards outside, and unfortunately, Ordul managed to flee because he heard the sound of the riders coming. He managed to flee. So by the time the riders came inside, he was gone. And so was his little gang of orcs who were also standing in there. The riders greatly outnumbered the orcs, but unfortunately the orcs were very quick to get out before the riders came, so they managed to flee. And Evanthor was pretty much the only survivor in the entire village. The orcs had killed everyone, including his family, and he told the riders to please just take him to Minas Tirith. There's nothing left for him here in that village where he lived. There's nothing left for him. So he asked them to take him to Minas Tirith, and since one of the Minas Tirith riders' warriors had been killed fighting the orcs in the town or in the village, they gave Evanthor one of their horses that he could then ride to Minas Tirith. And now he's got a house here, and that was what I was decorating in the beginning. I'm done with that by now, but that is his house, and he is now planning on getting revenge over Ordul, because he is, of course, devastated by the fact that his family has been killed, and he wants revenge. He definitely wants revenge. So if you also noticed that, I don't know if you did, but I've also placed a piece of armor in his... Oh, I'm actually doing that now. So I thought I had already done it, but I was doing that now. I placed that there because Evanthor is definitely going to try and become a good warrior. He's not a warrior, he's just a carpenter, but he's going to try, he's going to train, and he's going to kill Ordul the first chance he gets. He's going to track him down and he's going to kill him because of what he did to his family. So hopefully he'll have great success with that. Let's hope for the best for dear Evanthor. So that was my little story. That is who lives here in Minas Tirith. And I don't know, that really actually made it a lot more fun to decorate this little house, to have a story about who would live there. And I thought if you were going to play with Minas Tirith, I felt like it would be a nice thing to just sort of have a character who would live there who's not necessarily related to the story of Lord of the Rings. So that's why I actually really liked just making a character myself. So I hope you guys also enjoyed that little story. So that is who lives here. I also decorated the private quarters of this palace here. So you could also play as the king if you would like to do that. I feel like I might not have done it as detailed as I did the houses of Evanthor, because his was sort of my main thing, and I'm sorry about those pots just hanging over the throne. That's ridiculous. You guys must be thinking, what on earth is she doing? What is she doing? That's because actually when I looked at pictures of the throne room, there was like this sort of hanging gold thing that is hanging above the throne. That's what I'm trying to get at. And I wanted to try and do that, but the only thing that would do that was pots, and that's weird, so I removed those. And the throne has this sort of multi-level where you have like a black seat by the base, and then you have this big throne, or not a big throne, but the white throne up some steps. You have to go up some steps. I obviously cannot make any more steps because we have no more levels left, and they would also be way too big. I think like they would stretch too far up and it wouldn't look proper anyway, so I used these sort of false ruins stairs. And this what I've done right here, placing that little table there and then some tomatoes on a plate. If any of you have seen the films, which I'm assuming that probably most of you have, by the time where Pippin is here in the city, the king is just sitting and eating. I think he's eating tomatoes. Like my husband and I were talking about like what it was he was eating. Was it like cherries or plums or something? I always thought it was tomatoes. I don't know, you guys can tell me what you think it is, or if you like know for sure what it is, let me know. But I thought it was tomatoes, so I put a bunch of tomatoes there, and he was also eating some meat, so I put like a package of meat on the the table as well. So that's why there is a table in the middle of the throne room, because there is at that time. Or I don't actually know if they are in the throne room at that point, but I just wanted to have that detail as well. Pippin is singing that lovely song that I forgot the name of in that scene. It's a very beautiful scene. It's a very sad scene. Very, very sad actually, but it's very beautiful as well, I think. So this down here is the private quarters of the palace. So as you could probably see, I was just making like a staircase coming down from like the side of the throne room. And that will just sort of bring them down here into this little area. And this is where the king will have his bath and his sleep and all of these things. I thought it was a little silly not to have anywhere for the royalty to stay after. I mean, I'm pretty sure they don't do all their business on their throne. And by that I just mean like sleep and all. Yes. So yeah, that's what I was going for. And that's his little kitchen here. Obviously he'll have servants who do all that stuff for him. I am pretty sure the king does not cook. So that's what that is, and a little bit of pantry going on. I actually really liked the house, the house that Evanthor lives in. I think it was a very nice house. It feels very sort of medieval, and I told you last time as well that it was a little bit Hobbit inspired, and I think it is visible that it is, and I know that this is not a Hobbit place, and it is not a hobbit who lives there, so I don't know how much sense it makes that I got inspired by hobbits. But then I also thought that it also still has this medieval feel, and I didn't want him to sort of look like he had very beautiful things like, you know, what's in here, for instance. I wanted it to also look like he lost everything back in his own village. He lost everything. He lost his wife, his kids, and also his possessions, I guess. I think he probably brought with him some of his possessions, but there is like a limit to how much you can carry. He probably went there by horse, and maybe he went back to get some things, I don't know. But he definitely didn't bring all of his possessions. I guess he had a little bit of money, and that's what he used to buy this nice house in Minas Tirith, and then otherwise it's sort of it's just sort of little bit old and worn down house. But I think that's okay. I think that fits very well. So what I'm going to be doing here is that I am going to try and find a way for them, for your Sims to actually get down to this place, like where Minas Tirith actually is, because as you know, I've made it into the basement, and yeah, so I obviously have to have some stairs that go down, and I'm going to cover up the wall with a lot of rocks, white rocks, to make it look nice. It's a lot of work, so I cut past most of it. And a couple of people were suggesting, by the way, that I solved my little problem with the grey walls by using by-the-book lights to brighten up the walls. And I already did answer that. But I just, in case other people were wondering if that would be a good idea, I thought it was a great idea, and I did try it, but it didn't work. So the thing is, I think it has something to do with the lighting, that it's grey, but at the same time, it does not change anything if I put lights in the basement. It just doesn't brighten up the walls at all. There is nothing that works. I've tried so many things. It just won't work. It really just won't work. It's very, very sad. But I guess that's just something that I should probably also just keep in mind for future builds. If I want to include basements for any reason, I should just try to remember that these issues can happen. Not that I think it would have changed anything in the way I was building Minas Tirith, because I would have had to use the basement either way, because otherwise it would be the smallest Minas Tirith ever. So that would have not really been possible, so I don't think it would have changed anything how I built it, but it's just good to keep in mind if you ever feel like doing builds where you'll have to use the basement. Just remember that the lighting can get really off in some cases. So yeah, that's a bit sad. I think I'm going to cut past, yeah. So, as you can see, there's a lot of rocks everywhere. I'm just trying to make these stairs look very natural and sort of incorporated in this mountain. And don't worry, I did try with the sim to go down from the road and then to the ground level, and that works. So you can actually go down the stairs, even though half of them are sort of covered up by rocks, so that is possible. I just wanted to make a little note of that in case you were wondering if the Sims can even get down there now. They can. So I just wanted to film the finishing touches. Pretty much that's what I'm doing right now, and then we're off to the screenshots, and then we're done. We're done, and then there's a new mega build coming very soon, hopefully Monday. That is what I'm betting on, but if it's not Monday, don't crucify me, because that's, I can't say for sure, but that's what I'm trying to get it out by Monday. So here are the screenshots, and that is Evinthor's little armor that he's going to be using when he is training to kill Ordul. And that is his little lounge room and his dining room. This kind of reminds me of The Hobbit, where all the dwarves are coming to visit Bilbo. But yeah, anyways, that is his kitchen, and then we're off to see his little living room, and I also think we'll see his little carpentry area. Yeah, so here, this is where he's still doing carpentry, obviously, because that's sort of what his life is about, and that's probably how he still earns money to get the training and the weapons and the armor that he needs. So I'm imagining that he still does his carpentry. That's the throne room, And this is the indoor garden of Minas Tirith that probably does not exist in Minas Tirith, but it's there nonetheless. And this is the gate. I just wanted to show you, it's not like the most interesting looking place, but it is the gate, and I thought it was a nice idea with the gate. I actually liked it. And the little stable and the little merchant kind of area. This is the lower part of the city, by the way, so that's why it's grey. And that's the flight of steps that's sort of supposed to imitate that iconic picture of Gandalf riding towards this huge flight of steps leading up to the palace. And that is like an outside courtyard just below the palace grounds. And that is the palace with a nice tower. This is the nicest part of the build, in my opinion. It is very beautiful. And I love this sort of architecture that Minas Tirith has. I think Minas Tirith is very beautiful. I think that is it, actually, just after this picture. So anyways, I am going to end it here. I hope you enjoyed Minas Tirith, and I hope you're looking forward to my next mecha build. I can promise you that it's going to be awesome. So far I am loving it, so I hope you guys are excited for that, because I am super excited to release it for sure. So I hope you guys enjoyed Minas Tirith. Let me know what you think of it, of the entire build, and did you enjoy the story? For those of you who did not listen to the story that I told in my Vampire Mega Mansion Part 3, if you like the storytelling, you can go and watch that one. That was the first time I tried to tell a story to go with the build, and there were quite a lot of feedback telling me that they really enjoyed the story time, and that's why I thought I would do it again, and I really enjoy it too. So one little fact about me is that I love to write. I have been writing since I was a little girl, actually. I just sort of like to do it. I like to make up stories. I just adore stories, pretty much. So for me, it was great to just have a little bit of a story going on with a person living here in Minas Tirith. So I hope you guys also enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought of the story. It was obviously a little more violent, but that's also because I felt that it fit into the universe of Lord of the Rings. That is the sort of thing that I imagined could go on in the universe of Lord of the Rings, or in Middle-earth, and all of that. So that's why I made that story, and I thought it was nice. So I hope you guys also enjoyed it. So anyways, let's finish off, otherwise I'll just babble on forever. So thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and see you soon.